we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And I don't ever want to have a friendship where I show up to their funeral and I regret that I didn't say things that I felt about them.
You're listening to Artistry with Heart, a musician's wellness podcast. I'm Stephanie Lynn Bernards. On today's episode, we're joined by Charleston, South Carolina's powerhouse trio, Gale Bird, a band known equally for their high-energy, roof-lifting rock and roll and their hushed, harmony-rich intimacy. Led by Joshua and Melissa Gale and Sean Monahan, Gale Bird crafts songs that tell love stories with clear-eyed commitment, celebrating devotion, confessing flaws, and inviting listeners into the emotional conversation. Described by Zillions magazine as a vibrant mix of rock and soulful country, overflowing with style that instantly grabs your attention, they deliver big. Wailing guitar solos, stacked vocal harmonies, and those special quiet moments that make a packed room feel like a living room. More importantly, the trio is known for bringing authenticity to every note. Joshua, Melissa, and Sean, I am so stoked to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is so great. You're my first trio that I've interviewed. So I get to hear from three amazing people at the same time. Super cool. Together, you have created music that is somehow both high energy and deeply intimate. And that's a powerful combination and a balance many artists find very difficult to strike. So I'm really excited to get to know each of you a little bit more and peel back a few layers of how you got to where you are today. So when I was reading about your background, I learned that Gale Bird began when the two of you, Joshua and Sean, set out to finish the music you started writing together in your early 20s while in college. And then longtime friends and bandmates that you eventually found the missing piece of the group in Melissa, whose voice and presence helped shape your warm, welcoming sound. So obviously, that is a thumbnail sketch. Can you share the details we wouldn't know, your behind-the-scenes journey of becoming Gale Bird?
Absolutely. I think for me, when we first met in college was I wanted to put together an incredible rock band and put on a performance because I had felt something at a rock show that I had never experienced anywhere else. And if we could put that in a bottle and have others experience that, it would be pretty incredible. It is the most fun I've ever experienced in my life playing music. It is an outlet, I think, for so many people away from the day-to-day grind that is extremely important. Music is really, really, really special to me. It's always been a part of my life. So becoming friends with Sean and writing music really kept it going. Rarely do you ever meet somebody as motivated as you are. Usually a lot of bands and artists are solo artists because there's usually nobody around to match the kind of motivation, drive, and the things that's needed to continue moving forward because there's a force against you to get you to, whether it's your inner critic or anything, is trying to get you to stop making music. Having a friend that is just as driven and dedicated as you are is really rare and special and wonderful. And that's why we were able to pick it up a little over a decade later and say, hey, let's keep doing what we started. Melissa is my best friend. She's my wife. I don't want to do life without. I've had the opportunity to travel without her to some incredible places. I did not enjoy myself because I was missing my better half. And so I wouldn't want to do music without her. And when you're singing about the things that we're singing about, it's really important to have someone in the room that can attest to the things that you're singing about. There's that warm, nurturing aspect that she brings to the group that I think only she could bring.
For me, it's just been pretty special. So like Josh said, we met in college and started playing some music. And it was, at that time, more just for fun for me. I would have loved for it to, blow up or continue. But it was just kind of like, I loved Josh. And Melissa wasn't singing with us yet, but we had some fun opportunities to play and write. So once we both got married, started having families, we put a pause on it. And then a few years ago, when Josh reached out and just was saying, I'm ready to record. I think we should bring this back. I think for me, one of the most exciting things was I feel like I've always desired to not just express my craft and my music, but also to have it documented and to have a place where it can be seen by people in forever, you know? And so once we started getting in the studio and we're able to write songs that meant a lot to us and then have it in a finalized form that we were happy with, it was just so satisfying for me. And I think that's one of my favorite aspects of it. And then to have this side of, you know, we're being able to provide a really fun opportunity for people to come out and enjoy our music live. Josh is so good at that, being the stage leader and telling a story really well. I feel like I'm always learning more on that side of it. So getting to do that has been so much fun. Work with him and Melissa has been amazing. It's just been awesome these last 2 years to kind of see how it's all developed and grown. And it's just been fun.
Yes, and I'll share. It's been great. The past 2 years, we've all grown in different areas together. And honestly, you know, Sean has kids, we have children, and it's been fun for our families as a whole to do it together. Our children are involved, like our kids are our biggest fans, you know, and for me to be able to record music for the generations, I mean, we're going to be gone one day, but the amazing thing about music is it just continues, it lasts. And so for us, it's been really special. And I'm sure for Sean as well, that this is something that our grandchildren are going to be able to listen to and remember about their parents or their great grandparents, you know, that they loved each other. And so I love that we're creating moments that will last.
So beautifully put. Yeah, these moments are frozen in time, but we get to keep them forever with music. It's like music's like a time machine. I feel like every time I hear a song, it takes me right back to where I was when I first heard it. And I think the same goes for when you write a song and when you share it and you get to share it with your families. It just lives on beyond our lifetime, which is such a beautiful way to put it. And here you are back in full force, both having families and somehow managing to perform and write and maybe even tour. Are you all on the road sometimes too, or what do you?
We're putting together 2026 right now. We've got invitations for a couple different places around the country that we're trying to figure out. Again, how does this work with family? Obviously, we could plow through, and how do we pioneer it without everybody getting really roughed up in the process and hating and alienating each other and all that kind of stuff? I think for us, we've always kept the main thing that our friendships, our relationships, our marriages, our children, those are the top thing. There's no dollar amount. There's no amount of success in a career that could replace any of that kind of stuff. And again, I think, Stephanie, you get it. You get children for 18 years living with you, and then all of a sudden you know them as adults for the rest of their life, in your life. And so we're trying to capitalize on these precious years as long as we can and as much as we can. And sometimes that's a struggle. It's like we have to deny ourselves and sacrifice what could be a great, incredible opportunity to be present, to be home, to be with our families. Doesn't mean that we'll never do great opportunities when they arise. It just means we got to figure out how to do it. But we're going to figure that out together because there's three of us.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love that you share that backstory too. Yes, I'm very much at the beginning of this journey. We have a 10-month-old. And so we're already realizing why people call these years the short years, because days feel so long, but the years are going so fast. This is the shortest year I've ever lived somehow. And I know you all get it. But it is that balance, right, of figuring out how to do what is most important, which is to have our families, have our relationships, have our spiritual journeys, if that's a part of our lives, having our kiddos and being a witness to them growing up, while also maintaining this deep love of music and the self that we find through music. And that is such a difficult balance to find. So I appreciate that you shared honestly about the gift and the challenge, right, of being offered these opportunities to go on tour, yet you also have to figure out how to juggle family. And the fact that you're considering that at all is a testament to who you are in the first place. But a question many of us have to ask ourselves, myself included, which is a nice segue because, you know, you were described by Last Day Deaf as bringing authenticity to every note, translating personal storytelling into something universally felt. I'm just curious how you unpack the personal part of your storytelling and performance to the audience. You have such a big energy on stage, and it can be easy for artists to obviously lose the intimate moments in all that excitement. Yet you manage to maintain and prioritize them as you prioritize family, friendships, children. Just can you tell me more about how you do that?
Yeah, I'm going to let Sean take most of this one, but I just want to jump in with the You know, live, we're 7 or 8 of us. So it's a full band experience that is something new every song. Not every song sounds the same, all that kind of stuff, and high energy. But when we're writing and when we're thinking about these songs, it's the three of us, either Sean and I or Sean and I and Melissa in the writing room trying to figure out what we need to hear the most. And because if we're all honest, like marriage is really, 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 really hard. And then when you add kids and you add the pressures of the world and, providing and finances and everything else that could be a trigger or anything like that, it all can get really messy really quickly. And so when we think about writing, we're like, what do we need to hear the most right now? We're summarizing a lot of that into our writing and trying to figure out how does it become a statement within 3 minutes. And we're extremely vulnerable. Singing about marriage, if we were waiting for a band to sing about marriage when they had like the perfect marriage, nobody would ever sing about marriage ever, because no one has a perfect marriage. And that's a really difficult thing that I constantly hear in this world, and I observe, is that I call it the 3 Ps: parents, professionals, and pastors. We put them on this pedestal and we look at them like they have it all together and they should know everything. They should be perfect people, but there's not a single one. And so we can't allow our interactions with other people to continue to be the motivators that motivate us to write music, to continue to play music, to pursue something, any relationship in our lives. So we're trying to figure out all that in this writing process of what is impressing on us the most, what's the inner turmoil.
Yeah, I think that there are artists out there that have learned how to storytell and how to do this so well that they can communicate authenticity without having to live it. And there's a theatrical sense of doing that. I think for us, what's kind of made it different is we do want to be honest and authentic on stage with how we're communicating, but that's just an overflow of how we want to live life in general. And so I think our approach has been, in the writing, outside of music, in our relationships with each other, with friends and family, is like, I don't want to be living a double life. I don't want to be living any sort of thing where I'm projecting something out that's not truly me. And so I think with that being our goal with each other and with the people we're around, I'd like to think that translates into the music, and it does lead to other issues too. I think, some of the things that I know I face, I can't speak for Josh and Melissa, but I have struggled my whole life with feeling like an imposter. Like if someone just knew what was going on, they would think less of what we're doing or comparison to other people. It's just so easy as a musician to kind of get some of those wires crossed and make it feel like your performance is your identity. And there's so many ways pitfalls. And so for us, it's important for our sanity, for our marriages, for our relationships, that we're kind of constantly gauging these things. How are we doing with it? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to just have a cool show that makes people think great about us and we're falling apart inside. That doesn't do anyone any good. So we feel like the best way we honor what God's given us in our families and in our friendships is to do our best to be authentic. And then hopefully that translates really well into what we're writing and performing.
It's so true. I think we have to remember that we bring ourselves everywhere we go, and the more integrated we can be on and off the stage, the better. And that we're not doing anybody any favors by pretending to be okay so everybody else can enjoy a show when we're crumbling inside. And so prioritizing bringing our full selves to the stage on and off is really cool. I just wanted to add to what y'all were saying about really prioritizing our family first and our relationships beyond feeling like you need to make a choice between music or family. I think that there's this way that we can integrate having really beautiful, strong relationships with our family and ourselves, and having music be an extension of that. And I'm obviously learning right now how to do that. And it feels kind of chaotic with an infant, but my husband and I are really trying to figure out how to maintain the things that we love outside of family to only enhance family, right? And I think it can feel really easy to lose our identities because before I had a family, I was, fully identified in music, but it's just like so easy to be like, I am what I do. I am a performer. I am a musician. I am a whatever. It's all about what I present to the world. and achievement. And a lot of my life lately has been about like stripping all that away and realizing that like who you are and what you look like, who you are is not what you look like or what you do or how much you achieve or how many streams or likes or follows you get or whether the record labels want to sell, like, work with you or how many gigs you play or how many people show up to the show or, it's about who you are and how you feel about you. So I just really appreciate you all being so real about that. So, this podcast is a space for musicians and creatives of all backgrounds to explore the real stories behind their art. And we've talked a little bit about that. As a teaching and performing musician myself, I know the courage it takes to step on stage and share your original work. And in this podcast, the main point is to go beyond that performance and to talk openly about what doesn't make it into the spotlight, your challenges, your breakthroughs, and your personal journey that fuels your music. So I know we talked a little bit about feeling like an imposter or maybe feeling like, the comparison game gets the best of us or choosing family or friends or whatever it might be over music, vice versa. I want to just open the floor to ask, would you be willing to speak honestly about the realities behind your music, whether it's inner battles or moments of growth, any wisdom you've gathered along the way? Just expound more on what we wouldn't get to know about maybe some of the challenges and struggles that you have faced as a musician and a performing artist that has informed who you are and how you've worked with it.
I think for me along the way, especially like nobody ever asked Sean and Melissa and I to write and make music, to get back together and record music. Like nobody asked for that, but that doesn't mean that people don't really appreciate what you're doing. If you're only writing music because somebody's trying to encourage you to and to keep you going, then that dries up at some point. That well does not last forever. It has to be something that you decide to do. It's not that people don't care and love about you. They just don't understand how difficult it is to write music, to pour yourself out, to keep going, to keep making music, no matter if anybody picks up the phone to tell you, oh, I really appreciate that song. I love what you did there. That lyric resonated with me. It's not that they don't care. It's just that they're probably already at capacity with everything else in their life. And there might not be the best at communicating something to a friend to say, hey, that intimate thing you shared was really cool. So it can never be the motivator to continue to write and perform music. It can't be someone else's perspective. For us, we, in our 11 years of marriage, 12 years of marriage, we just celebrated 12 years, have had some extremely extreme highs and some very low lows. Not really having a good place to start from or a great example of what marriage and family looks like. A lot of times it was shooting from the hip. And I was 25, she was 26 when we got married. She realized really quickly that her husband was still growing up. And I'm 37 now, I'm still growing up. We had to be extremely honest with one another. And sometimes honesty, however you receive it, can still cut deep. It can still sit with you for a long time as a thought in the back of your mind. Some thoughts and things that linger in our mind, and there's always some thoughts that try to creep in a lot. And what we've kind of discovered, and I play these songs over myself a lot because these songs we wrote when Sean and I were thinking, okay, at our best, when we're the most sober-minded and like clear-minded in alignment, this is the thoughts we had. I need to tell myself when I'm sad, angry, lonely, anxious, depressed, whatever the feeling may be and thought process and mental space may be, hey, Josh, when you were in your best and when you were thinking really clearly, this is how you felt. It's never really fake it till you make it. I don't like that. That's an idiom that I don't care for. I want to say things over myself that are going to get me back into an alignment with myself when I was thinking really clearly. It cannot be making decisions based on emotions that I'm feeling here in the moment, because emotions are driven by hormones. They're driven by, all these external factors and things that sometimes we don't even realize are affecting our emotions or driving us to think a certain way. So now more than ever, Roses is a song that we just released recently. I've played that over myself so much to give myself the perspective of where I need to be in life right now and where I need to show up.
I think for me, a lot of my journey has been also on the production side and the creation of this stuff. And I mean, I still struggle with it sometimes today, but as a young artist especially, there was this sense of which I just can't release this song until it sounds so good. And of course, I can never define what so good means. It's just, it's a comparison thing. It's got to be this quality. And so I hold on to songs and I don't finish them, or sometimes I'll write something that I love and then I am completely paralyzed to start the next song because I have this expectation, like I have to write something just as good or better. And going into the writing room with that would just, it would paralyze anybody. So I think part of the growth that I've had to work through and still working through is realizing that if we have a gift and we've worked on a craft and we can express things that are meaningful, it doesn't matter if it's to one person or to 100,000, it makes a difference in the world. And so for me to discount myself or my music because I feel like it's not like X, Y, or Z, and it won't reach the same audience is crippling some people in my sphere that I could influence or encourage or make feel a certain way, and that could be so positive. So realizing that helps me push through some of those times when I'm really tempted to get discouraged. On a kind of a more personal note, there was a season a number of years ago where I was just in a really rough spot with some relationships and with a work situation, and I just kind of realized that what I needed to do in that moment was pour myself into writing as almost a therapeutic thing. And I remember being terrified to put these songs up on Spotify because there are all these thoughts of like, what would other musicians think? Is it good enough? What would they think? Like, would they ask me what it meant and how would I answer? And funny thing there is I've had like maybe one person ever ask me what a song meant. Unless it's super clear, I think they just listened to it. But yeah, so I started releasing these songs and realized not only that all the fears that I'd put in my head never really amounted to anything, but then also there's a satisfaction that it hit inside of me to have a song finalized and released that I didn't realize was possible. And so then with that background coming into Gale Bird, man, it was just so exciting. I had all these years of production and having to work on this and push past my fear that I could then bring into this group where, you know, we're doing this together and we're doing this in a live context. We've got other members of the band that are a part of this as well. And so we can kind of help lead through somewhere we've been and hopefully help other artists as well.
That's beautiful. And so the point of all of this, right? We ask ourselves, why music? Why do this? You know, and I think so much of it is because we have to get so real with ourselves so quickly about why we're showing up and being vulnerable about what's going on in our lives. And I appreciate you sharing about the challenges that you faced before you found Gale Bird and how those challenges made you more prepared to be who you are today in this group. I think for me, back on my first album release, and it was under a different band name, but I learned so many important lessons through the challenges that I faced, and kind of similar to maybe what you were talking about, Sean, feeling like, what are people going to think and how are people going to perceive me? But, you know, I was in my 20s at that point, and I was so fixated on wanting approval from others that what started out as a beautiful idea of creating these songs and this album quickly turned into something that was a measuring stick that I was using to compare myself to others. You know, when I had my release of my album, I went all around Portland and asked everybody to play it. And I was like, certainly people, even the local radio station will want to play my first album release. And everyone passed. Everyone said they would just, sorry, we're going to pass on this album. And even the person who produced the album at one point, you know, told me I should hire somebody else to sing my originals. And another person told me I needed to edge up my look and just, you know, look a little bit more edgy, you know, and I think that I love edgy looks. It's just not really my vibe. I hear you, and I think that look is awesome for folks. It's just like not really me, and I don't really understand why we all can't just show up and be ourselves fully. My point is that I really learned the hard way that when you give your gift to others expecting something in return, it's not a gift, and it's also poison for yourself, because music is an extension of who you, not what an industry thinks, not what venues think, not what radio stations think. It's about you being you and showing up authentically as you. And I wouldn't be where I am today without those experiences. I needed to be put in my place. And I feel like my higher power knew that, I needed to have these hard lessons so that I can show up and have these real conversations with people like you, and talking real about how difficult it is to realize that music is an extension of who we are, whether that's for one person or millions of people. Like if you touch one person with sharing the innermost parts of yourself, you've done your job. And no one can take that away from you if you're clear with that yourself.
Absolutely. The songwriting dynamic for us too, I will present a song to Sean every once in a while, and he'll show me and it's like your child, you present your child to somebody and you're like, yeah, but that child's got a couple warts. Well, how would we fix those warts? But Sean is so gracious. When we get into a writing room, Sean's is about as universal as a producer and a writer can get, to where he's 1 week he's producing a jazz band, the next week he's producing a gospel record, the next week he's producing Americana, the next week he's producing country. You can't put him in a box. One thing he's really good at is getting that artist to shine through and keeping their authenticity in mind, of not trying to bury it to sound like X, Y, and Z. We're really thankful that the dynamic that we have in the group. Melissa is one take Melissa behind the microphone. I am, go ahead and schedule me a half a day at least in the studio. And Sean is behind, 12 inches of glass trying to sing, and help me think in my mind how that would come out and sound and all the things. And it's such a great dynamic to have, that you can really trust the person that you're in the studio with, in the writing room with. You can be extremely vulnerable. And then the way we've always learned to deliver critique to one another is, let's try this instead. I like that, but let's try this instead. We've learned to still be gentle with one another. We don't get easily offended with each other, but at the same time, it's really always nice to deliver something kindly.
Absolutely. No, and I think that the more we can support each other in creating who we are through our music, right? Like it sounds like, Sean, when you work with your artists, no matter what genre, you're always trying to capture who they are, what their sound is, right? Not trying to flatten out their imperfections or make them sound like someone else. Is that true?
So that's one of my favorite things. Me and Josh work really well together because he thrives on a stage. He is so incredible with drawing in a crowd and telling the story well. And he does great in the studio as well. I feel like for me, my strength is in the studio. And so having done it so much myself, I know the fears that a lot of especially vocalists come in feeling, because it's so different when you're there and you're hearing yourself in the clearest form. And you might not even be used to having headphones when you're singing. It's so daunting. And then you have all these expectations on you of you're supposed to match a click, or the band, and you're supposed to create this product that people are expecting to be a certain degree of excellency. And then you might even have a producer that's asking you to subtly change things. So maybe he wants you to do this run a specific way. And so then you're in the moment having all those external things happening and then having to produce something for them. It's just a lot to cover. And so I think it's so cool as a producer, knowing what their mindset is in that moment, helping guide them through. So a lot of it's, at what points do I need to pull back and not say something yet? And then at what points do I step in because I think I can push them? They're ready for it. What points are they still warming up? At what points are they, this is the best we're going to get and we need to move on to the next section? All of that is a juggling act as a producer. And so I think it's just such a privilege to get to work with artists and help them as they're, learning that stuff. And it's completely different when you're behind a mic with headphones. I love it though.
So how do you help people ease up on themselves when they're hearing their voice like repeated back to them and they have the click and they're starting to spiral out of control mentally? What are some things you do to help them?
One of the things that I like to do is, regardless of all the imperfections I hear, there's something worth celebrating. Maybe that's the emotional delivery. Maybe that's the fact that they pushed past their barrier of fear and just did it. There's always something that's worth celebrating. But then also setting the expectation for them of like, that's the beauty of the studio. Let's take another take. If you mess it up, let's do it again. We always have that option. And a lot of times where we're not on a clock. Now, obviously we want to be efficient, but we don't have that same pressure of, we have 30 minutes to get this take. We'll take time if we need to. Let's take a break. You've done a great job with this so far, or maybe this section isn't today. Let's go over to the bridge. I think a lot of it is almost a mind game of trying to help the singer or instrumentalist just get to a place where they can be present in the moment, enjoy what they're doing, be focused, and it's that constant game of how do I help you pull the best of yourself out in this moment.
For me, it's always been a balance of like, in our brains, there's room for logic and emotion. Logic being one balloon in our mind, emotion being the other balloon. There has to be a lot of logic when performing a show and having a long set list and knowing what you need to say, how long you have. You're watching a clock, right? Because there's other performers or people do have to go home at some point. And how long can you spend on a certain subject or, transitioning a song? But also you want to give emotional delivery. You've got to deliver something that the audience will believe you if they know that you really feel that way about the songs that you're singing. And we've only ever chosen songs that we really feel extremely passionate about. And so having that battle of the logic and emotion, when a sound check goes terribly wrong, all of a sudden emotion takes over, and usually wrong emotion takes over. Frustration, anger, the critical, what should I have done better to make sure that didn't happen? Everybody's thinking it's on me. That's my fault. That's my responsibility. All of a sudden you get so worked up inside of this that you're forgetting that you're about to perform about love and all these different things. And these people are so excited to be here. They're so happy. They have expectations for the evening of how romantic it's going to be, or how much fun it's going to be, or just all the things that they have so many expectations that no one ever gave them, but they have them. And it's your responsibility, honestly, to be able to deliver something that's a performance, not just a recital. People will never remember the words you sang, the order of the set list, if you messed up, or, whatever it may be. They're going to remember how they felt. And so having those moments in the performance are really important, but also like trying to help yourself be extremely present and not racing through the set, enjoying it yourself as well. So I have things I constantly remind myself of. I cannot feed off of Sean because he's thinking a whole other list of things that are his responsibility as the band leader and the lead guitarist and the vocalist. I can't rely on Melissa. I have to rely on the things I can tell myself in my own mind. We always pray before every performance. That kind of gets us back and draws us in together of like, okay, it's not just us. And those things bring us together. But even in the middle of a set, you have to be able to tell yourself something and have a goldfish memory if you mess up, that we just forget it and move on. And so that balance of logic and emotion is really important. And usually telling myself something, having a few things to tell myself to get myself back in the right mindset does help with some of that performance anxiety, all the nerves, the feelings, the everything. And it's not just nerves of being in front of people. It's nerves of things that are out of your control. And the rest is up to how it unfolds. And that's the beauty of performing too, is it's going to unfold differently every time. And we can't control everything.
I get extremely nervous performing, getting up in front of people. I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone a lot. What I've had to do is I've had to just remember that we're going out and having fun. Now, you put in all the work, you want to be excellent. You want to come prepared, knowing your part. But really, it's just, okay, we're going to go have fun. And there may be a few people in the crowd that they are like perfectionists and they notice every mistake and they may want to point it out. But really, the majority of the people there, they're just going to have fun. And so, I try to make myself just remember that, to lighten it up a little. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, like I want to be authentic with the words I'm singing. So if there's some conversations I need to have with Josh, like if earlier that day, like he hurt my feelings or we were not whatever it may be, it's important to just talk through things and work things out to the best that we can. So then when we're on the stage, that's cleared and we can just have a great time together and not let the little things get in the way.
As we journey, it's kind of a self-discovery thing. In the moment, if I'm feeling nervous, there are a lot of times when that's a symptom of something else that I'm dealing with. Maybe there's a musician there that I want to impress, or maybe there's an external pressure or something in my day that's just been messing with me. So I think the more I try to learn my own issues, the better I am at addressing them when they come up. And so I think a lot of times that's kind of the anxiety in a performance situation is trying to recognize what's going on. Why am I actually feeling this? Is this a fear of someone's, you mentioned approval dependency earlier, or a comparison thing, or what? The better I can target what's actually the issue, the better I'll do addressing it. Then lastly, I think it's just reps. Like, there is an element of you just got to do it and it gets easier. I still to this day occasionally feel the nerves, but it hits different. You can't get better at performing under pressure unless you practice under pressure. You can't get better at performing and working with a live crowd unless you work with a live crowd and you just go do it. So as much as that isn't always the fun answer, there's a lot of truth to that.
Thank you so much for sharing vulnerably about your journey with performance anxiety and some strategies to work through it. It's all about getting more people out there to use their own unique voice and to be empowered to do so. You chose to share an honest, raw, and deeply heartfelt piece, Roses, which listeners will get to hear in full at the end of this episode. Tell us about the inspiration behind this piece and why you chose to share it with us today.
Oh man, this song has been special to us. We wrote it about a year ago, and it's kind of just been sitting in the vault. We've been talking about being authentic as an artist, and one of the things that does kind of come up against that is the industry, and it makes it really difficult. So being signed with a label, they're investing a lot of money in us. And so there is always going to be an element of preference to things that will make money. We have a whole vault of songs, but the ones that they want to push forward are the ones that they feel like will produce the best results. And it totally makes sense. So Roses was one of the songs we've been sitting on that we weren't sure how well it would perform on playlisting and some of the ways that you're trying to grow your digital audience. I think we released it a month or so ago. There's a lot of craziness around the US, a lot of shootings happening, and there's just this sense of unrest on social media. And it felt appropriate to remind ourselves and our audience that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And I don't ever want to have a friendship where I show up to their funeral and I regret that I didn't say things that I felt about them, whether that's, just that I care about them or I'm thinking of them. So we wrote this song a while back and then felt it was just the perfect time to release it about a month ago. And it's special to us because it's something that we try to live. I've had multiple times in the process of producing it, listening to it and then being immediately drawn to call my mom. I haven't talked to you in a while. I just wanted to say hi. But it's a reminder, I don't know how long I'll get on this earth with my family, my friends. And so I try, and I imagine Josh and Melissa as well, like anytime someone comes to mind now, I want to reach out, even if it's just, hey, how's it going? Good to hear from you. It's been a while.
I think one thing Melissa and I learned 2 years ago now is, the easiest way to deliver a message to somebody is feelings, behavior, impact. Hey, I feel this way because when you do this, it makes me feel like this, or, whatever it may be. And it always doesn't have to be in that order. Because of the way you do that, it really makes me feel this way. And it takes this off of my mind, or whatever it may be. And it's so easy just to do that as much as we can. And if somebody pops into your mind, it's for a reason usually. And just send that special one-off message. No, pick up the phone call. It dissolves and works through things so much better than a simple message or email.
Absolutely. You just don't know how much time you have. And it's so important to remember to tell the people that you love them, and just drop that line. We're here for connection and community first and foremost. So it's a great reminder to tell the people in your life that you love them and that they're priceless to you, because, no matter what our art form is, we're all hardwired for connection and we all need each other. Great reminder to just tell your folks how much you love them. Well, tell us about how people can get in touch with you. We'd love to hear, because I'm sure that people are going to want to hear your music and just drop you a line personally. So what's the best way folks can get in touch with you?
galebird.com, GALEBIRD.com. We've got all the music links you could ever want to your favorite platform, where however you consume music is linked through that website. Our email is also on there, contact@galebird.com. If you've ever been struggling to find a producer that understands you like Sean understands most people, you can send us a message through that as well. He's always looking for new projects to collaborate on and work with. We have an incredible studio here in Charleston that is unrivaled by most studios. So if you're ever looking for a place to come and need some musicians and stuff like that, we'd love to entertain and show everybody one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. We've got merch for sale on our website. So if you're moved by any of the music, obviously the best way to ever show gratitude or gratuity to an artist is to buy their merchandise. Obviously, we don't make a ton of money with streaming. No one does unless you blow up. Mostly active on Instagram. We have a lot of stuff that we're going to be sharing soon, and some performances with our South Carolina television PBS program and public radio as well. And some performance dates will all be announced on social media as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Artistry with Heart and for sharing your wisdom with the world, Josh, Sean, and Melissa. This has been such a joy. To our listeners, if there's something in today's episode resonated with you or you want more content like this, please like and subscribe to the show. It's free for you and makes a huge difference for the longevity of the podcast. You can also find resources for your wellness and mental health journey on my website at stephaniebernards.org. And you'll find the Wellness Hub, where there's all kinds of different resources that can help you stay on the path, stay true to you, and feel connected. Feel free to also check out the Patreon linked in the show notes to support the show. And here you can go deeper with our conversations, plus bonus resources that will help you stay in touch with your personal artistry and well-being. That's all for now. Until next time, be you and stay inspired. And now the full version of Roses.
Hold your roses till the funeral. Take every chance to tell her she's beautiful. Live every moment so intentional. You never know what the future holds. I could play this song until my fingers bleed, if that's how long it takes for you to see. Tell all the birds how much they should envy me. You turn my life into a melody. We might not be here another day, so why am I holding back the words I long to say? I won't let the moment pass us by. It's meaningless unless I tell you what's inside. Preacher to preacher is all we've got. You know I can't afford to ever stop reminding you how wonderful you are. There's something special within your heart. We might not be here another day, so why am I holding back the words I long to say? I won't let the moment pass us by. It's meaningless unless I tell you what's inside. We might not be here another day, so why am I holding back the words I long to say? I won't let the moment pass us by. It's meaningless unless I tell you what's inside. Unless I tell you what's inside. Unless I tell you what's inside. Don't hold your roses till the funeral.